A lengthy meeting held last night in Charottetown, Labrador, between the school council and the school board officials about the state of the William Gillette Academy and what can be done next. As you know, this is a small school in a small town. It has now been shut down. Can't go back into school because of mold. The building is in bad condition. There's either going to have to be a tremendous amount of expenditure to repair the old building and bring it back to inhabitability, or they're going to have to tear it down, and they're going to have to start over, and they're going to have to build a new school. That, however, is going to take a tremendous amount of time. In the meantime, school children in the area are now meeting in church basements to try and get or continue on with the school year. This is a school that was in trouble for a long period of time. This is a school everybody knew was old and in trouble for a long period of time. A school that was patched and patched and patched. And in reality, in Charlottetown, the school there is almost symbolic of, if you would, that now famous bridge in Placentia. I wonder if sometimes, only a thought on my part, not to be taken as evidence of anything, I wonder sometimes if in this province, and maybe it's true of governments generally, that if you are out of sight, you are out of mind. That if you're not seen every day, if you're not in the face of the decision makers and the power brokers, then you're not seen. It's not that anybody harbors ill will. It's not that anybody won't do what's right when the time comes to do what's right. It's that when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. Is that possible? Is that why the school in Charlottetown is where it is today? Shouldn't this have been cut off at the pass a long time ago? Same thing with the bridge in Placentia, right? Isn't it true of everything, though? Could we make that same statement about, I don't know, the Captain William Jackman Memorial Hospital in Lab City? Could you make it about anything, I suppose? I guess you can, because ultimately everything falls apart. Everything that's built breaks down. The day it opens for business, it starts to wear out. The old line, the day you're born is the day you start to die. And so shouldn't we be more conscious then of the life expectancy of these things, and shouldn't we have better plans in place universally to take care of it, like our ferry service? My Lord. Anyway, just a thought. It's not going to be easy to find a solution for what's happening, though, in Charlottetown, is it? Anybody with a comment, feel free. Portable classrooms, they say, could be there by next September, but not for the rest of this school year. They're going to have to come up with a temporary solution for this school year. Apparently right now that means the town council had to leave their building as well, by the way. The town offices have been moved. They've taken over the youth center. So the youth center was being part of the rec center, but now the rec center is also, the youth center is also closed because the town office moved in there. That leaves the rec center, but now the rec center is probably going to have to be taken over by the school, and that means the kids lose their rec center for the rest of the year. They could have portable classrooms by September, but not for the rest of this school year. I posed a question the other day. Why aren't we going to go with some kind of prefabricated building up there? Can't that be done? Can't that be done? Right? There's a crowd in Grand Bank that make all of these buildings. They sent them to Haiti and turned them into hospitals. Right? I was reading on the Sprung site. Okay, I know that's an ugly word to us. All right, forget cucumbers for a second. They happen to be the foremost world leaders in the development of prefabricated buildings, right, and fabric-made buildings. And they build buildings in the Arctic, designed for the Arctic. And they can put them up in weeks, put them up in months, and they're good for 30 and 40 years. Isn't that? If we're going to be innovative, shouldn't we be innovative? Shouldn't we be challenging that company in Grand Bank to say, do you have a temporary solution that maybe could be put there by, I don't know, maybe even a permanent solution, I don't know, to solve some of the problem? Even if you could put a building on site that gives them back their rec center, just a thought. Anyway, weigh in on it if you want. Love to hear from you on it. All right. Good morning, Ida.
Hi, good morning. Well, Randy, I just wanted to bring the listening public up to par, and especially the listening public in Charottetown, Labrador, regarding our trip up to the Confederation Building yesterday afternoon.
I know. You were talking with the minister?
I certainly was.
Yep.
And, the whole purpose of us going there was, and I am a member of the school council back in Charlottetown as well,
right,
was to try to find out from the minister if he had any answers as to what was happening with regards to our school, and for to let the minister know that the reason that the parents were keeping the children out of school, the makeshift classrooms that they have, such as they are, was not to try to bully government into committing to a new school, but rather to let the government know that we needed answers as to what was going to happen with our children, because all these mold testings and stuff were done and we were given the runaround.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious now, right, that this school is not going to reopen.
No, I understand that, and I have to commend the Minister Jackman especially, because he was very receptive, and certainly he do, in no uncertain terms, have the safety of our children at hand, and that's first and foremost important to him. The thing is, Randy, and I listened to your preamble this morning when you spoke about that, with regards to rebuilding the school, that might be fine. Okay, but they also have to rebuild the property, because the property that school is on is contaminated. It's contaminated, and there's a huge hole of water under that school. I guess that you can have an indoor swimming pool all year.
The property is contaminated. What's it contaminated?
That property had an oil spill. And certainly first-hand information from people in our community that worked on that cleanup, and it was not cleaned up properly. There was nobody there from occupational health and safety or environmental or anything like that. And they dipped up about maybe 3 or 4 barrels, and it was just, or more.
Where did the contamination, where did it come from?
It came, what they had done, they installed a new furnace, and over the course of the summer, it sprung a leak underneath the school where the oil was coming in.
When did they install it? How long ago was this?
Oh, boy, back now, a nice few years ago.
Is that right? And it started, the leak.
All they did after 3 or 4 barrels was took up, like with dippers and buckets or whatever. They covered it over with plastic. Now, this is the information that I have coming from people that worked on it, and then they threw some gravel over it. Now, from what I can understand, some of the inspectors were in there and said that they couldn't find anything and they couldn't pick up anything under sensors or whatever, but I can tell you that it's there.
Well, I mean, all they have to do with that is you know how they do that. They'll go in and they'll dig a test pit and they'll make a determination whether or not there's any legitimate long-term contamination, and for there to be any kind of, I'll call it long-term contamination, there would have had to have been a significant amount of oil. I mean, I'm not talking about 1 barrel. I'm talking about, 20 barrels. I don't know. To say that you're going to have to condemn the school. But to me, the school is already long condemned. The school is done.
The school is done for, and Randy.
So Charlottetown, Labrador, there's got to be lots of places to build a school.
Well, there's certainly lots of places that you can clear off land for to build a school. Of course it is. We're not living in China where you're crammed together. You can certainly get a piece of in a fast hurry if you had to.
Yeah.
But we understand that a new school don't come overnight.
No, you're looking at 2 years. You're looking at 2 years from the time you get a design.
And that might be so, but in the interim, we do not have any place in Charlottetown right now to house the children.
Well, there's your biggest challenge.
One of the churches that the children were setting up classes in, it's finished as of yesterday, I believe, or the day before yesterday.
Right.
There's no more classes going to be held there.
Can I ask you something, Ida?
Yes.
Just how many children are we talking in total?
I'm thinking, right off the top of my head, I would say around 56, maybe 58, something in that vicinity.
And that's all grades, right?
And that's from K to 12.
So we're going to say 60 kids for easy figuring. All right, in total. And the population growth or the expected long-term future in that area for children going to school and growth is, I would imagine, slow to stalled. Would that be fair?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because we have a lot of young children in the community that's going to come up for the start school, and we have a lot of young families living in our community that are just now having their babies.
So let's go hog wild and say over the next 15, 20 years, it'll go from 60 to 100.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But what we got to look at here is that we have an industry in our community, the only shrimp processing facility in Labrador.
Yeah, it would seem to me
employs like 150 people. So, like we are a prospering community.
Right. I don't think there's any issue that you're getting a school, is there? There's no issue. There's a school coming. The only issue at the moment is, what do you do in the interim to actually supply, to get to the end of this school year, and is there something that can be done before the new school year opens that's going to get you another 2-year span, because over that 2.5 years, you're going to have a new school built, right? I mean, that's the challenge. That everything else is water under the bridge. That's the challenge right now.
And that is the challenge, and unfortunately, our school children is at the short end of the stick.
Well, what else what do we do? The only thing to do is fly them out.
Pardon me?
I guess the only thing you can do then is fly them out.
Well,
we have to board them out and send them to a boarding school.
I know, but we have to be realistic with our children.
So the rec center is now going to become the school. Is that the idea?
Well, I don't know, because the people in the community, Randy, what you have to understand is that exercise is equally as important in this day and age as education. Physical exercise is really important.
But Ida, you're not going to get it. Ida, you're not going to get it all. You're not going to get it all. You can't. You don't have the facilities. So between now and June, the only thing that you can do is try and find at least a temporary solution that makes effective learning happen. You got to get that done. Then come September, you got to see to it that you've got a situation that allows you to get the next 18 to 24 months out of the way, so that they are still getting their schooling, so that at the end of 2014, you've got a new school that's going to last you for the next 30 years. And in that new school, obviously, you've got to plan for things like having a small gymnasium and doing all of those things. Because you can complain about it all you want, but what is it they can do? They can't build a building overnight. They can't fly in a dome. I don't know.
I understand, Randy, that they can't build a building overnight. We fully understand that. But the problem is, this problem didn't occur overnight either. This problem occurred over a course of time, and I know for a fact, at least for 14 years, we've been lobbying government about the problems that we've been having at the Gillette Academy.
Well, that was the point I was making this morning. Out of sight, out of mind. It's difficult when.
It's very difficult, and also, Randy, when you're talking about using up the only facility right now that we have in Charlottetown, for any kind of a function, okay?
Yeah.
I realize that the children's education is important. I'm sure cooperatively we will come up with something. But Randy, if you're talking about if a school is closing in St. John's or Gander or Cornerbrook or the larger centres, even like in Goose Bay, they have plenty of big facilities that they can turn into.
That's right. Charlottetown doesn't
have it.
That's right, and you're not going to get it. So here's your deal. You fellows are holding a meeting, I understand, today at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock?
Yes.
All right. You have to look at the resources that are available to you in your current community. You have to look at what resources can be delivered to you between now and Monday. All right? And then you have to set up a school. That's what you got to do. It's not nice. That's what you got to do. I don't know how else you... Right? I don't know how else you deal with it.
But I realize and I understand that the community, we have to work cooperative together with everybody. That means it's residents, the students, the school boards, the government, in order to come up with a concrete solution that can get our children back into classroom for the time being. Because, Randy, I can tell you that the makeshift classrooms that were put up in these church basements were so crammed, the students, you just could not, you could not comprehend how congested.
Well, Ida, hopefully, come the end of the day today, the council in Charlottetown and the school board in Charlottetown, the teachers in Charlottetown, will have that temporary solution in place, because it looks to me on the outside looking in, you only have one. You only have one solution.
We do. We certainly do. And, you know, Randy, the sad situation is, and I have to publicly get this off my chest, Charlottetown, a prospering community like we are, is falling beneath the dirt. Every building that we've had down there is being turned down. Office spaces is being you're turned out. It's just gone back to like what they would call the dirty 30s. There is absolutely nothing being left for us. And yes, we do have the rec center. If they have to use it, then they have to use it. But in saying that, what about the children and their other activities, their sporting events and everything that the other communities where they practice?
They're gone.
There's nothing.
They're gone.
So
not what about they're gone. I got to run. I'm way over time for my break.
Before you go, can I just say something here?
10 seconds.
Yes, okay. Betty Kibanock, the chairperson of the school council, and Lisa Dempster, who is the spokesperson for our school council, are doing a fabulous job, and we're very pleased with them. I'd just like to get that in there.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Randy.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, good morning, Randy. Thank you for taking my call.
Always glad to. Go ahead.
I wanted to shed some light, I suppose, to yourself and to your listeners. Ida Powell was on earlier from school council. I didn't hear, but someone said you made a comment about sending our kids out to boarding school. I wanted to take a couple of minutes of your time to shed some light on this very serious situation here so that people can appreciate where we're coming from. We're not asking, Randy, for our kids to get better treatment or bumped up the line. What we're saying is, here's the situation. Our school was shut down on the 27th of February. Our children have lost 3 weeks of their education already. It's probably compromised for this school year. That's very, very important to us, and we have a successful, proven academic track record at William Gillette Academy. The 14 years since I've been on school council, consistently, our kids are well above the district average and far above the provincial average in their grades. They're coming out, Randy, and they're going on to be significant contributing members of society. So we don't need to have a conversation on how important education is to us.
But I don't think anybody has.
Our school shines there. I just wanted to say that because our students come from good homes and they got good parents backing them up. But we've got a school. We've been lobbying for years and years on the educational shortcomings in terms of the no space for stage performing arts, the no industrial arts room, no library, no music room, inadequate science lab, substandard size gym. We've been lobbying all these things because we saw that clearly our kids are not in an equal learning environment to the rest of the province. However, in recent years, even all that went by the wayside, and the no wheelchair access and the safety being a huge concern and the no playground. We had to forget about all that because so many of our children have been getting sick with sinus infections, headaches, chronic fatigue, rashes, respiratory problems. I asked in a community meeting the other day for kids who got medical records in the clinic that they're suffering, and over 80% stood up. I was nearly moved to tears. It was beyond anything I expected. I've already talked to about 70% of the teachers, and they've all got the same thing. And now after last night's meeting, they're willing to get their medical records. So, Randy, the school is almost 50 years old. On the 27th, I feel like a higher power. On the 27th of February, I feel like a higher power intervened for us. We've been writing letters. We've been really stepped up the lobby efforts, trying to be nice, trying to be respectful, pleading our case, trying to get someone to hear us. It wasn't until the ceiling tiles came down and the kids were dismissed that all of this new stuff and the mega stories about kids sick begin to come to light. And now, what puts us in a different situation than everyone else? We're number 4 on the school board's list of priorities for a new facility as it sits. The number 1, 2, and 3, those children are not displaced. if they were, Randy, with all due respect, we're not saying we're not saying our kids are more important than those kids. Absolutely not. What we are saying is we're in that unique situation and that we don't have other facilities in our community to offer to get our kids through the rest of the school year.
Yeah, but you're satisfied at the moment, are you not, that you're getting a new school? You're no longer priority number 4. You're priority number 1.
No, Randy. I wish I was talking to you and I knew that. We spent 3 weeks at this, and we spent 4.5 hours in a meeting last night, and no one has told us that we've moved from number 4 because of our emergency situation, and no one has told us anything to the fact that we're getting a new school. We do know the first test results came back last Friday, Randy, and it showed that elevated levels of mold were present. They sent in 2 more consultants. They sent in a mechanical engineer to get down and look at the furnace problems. And those results are due back today, but we were told by senior officials of the school board in our meeting last night, early indicators have already showed mold spores in the attic, mold spores in the basement, mold spores in the class. We now know that the kids are likely out for the rest of the school year.
Well, there's no doubt the kids are out for the rest of the school year. The question you got to ask yourself, I suppose, at this point in time, and this is going to be the challenge for everybody up there. Number 1 is you got to deal with the rest of the school year without that building.
Absolutely.
There's nothing. There's no rescue coming. There's no school cavalry to ride in.
That's right.
So you're going to have to take your rec center or whatever and turn it into a school. It's tough, but you're going to have to do that. There's no obstacles to that. You can't say here's the problem. You have no other solution.
Randy, I just want to make this point that's so important for my community who's listening today. Our people would be so happy to sit down and discuss in a spirit of cooperation and work with school board and work with government and say, yes, we'll give up our rec center, which is so vital to the mental health and to the physical health, and it's the last public facility that we got, if we know something good is coming at the end of the day. That's what we're struggling with, Randy. Can you understand that?
All right. Well, I tell you what. Education Minister Clyde Jackman is coming on the program. When he does, I will ask him. Now, as for the comment about the boarding school, when I was talking to Ida, just to clarify for you, I wasn't saying here's the solution, let's take 60 kids and send them to a boarding school. I was making the comment a little bit facetiously when we were discussing about what options do you have, and I said, come on, what options have you got? You're going to have to take the rec center and turn it into a temporary school. Come on, what options have you got? What, put them on a plane, send them to a boarding school? You understand the context, okay? Okay.
All
right.
Don't hang up on me. I wanted to make one more point. We were told last night that government, Minister Jackman, is going to be appointing an architectural firm to come in and look at the school. We're really happy with that. We're happy things are working. We're willing to cooperate. However, if they spend $1.5 million and doing something in the basement, Randy, that still don't address all the rest of the problems and the shortcomings of this old school. That's the only point I want to make. That might clear the mold out $1.5 million, but still, what about all the rest of the things that our students deserve, because this is a basic, essential service.
Well, now, you got 60 kids. It might grow a little bit over the years to come. You're going to spend $1.5 million, $2 million to try and renovate an old building. You're better off to spend $3 and get a new one. We'll talk to the minister. Thank you, Lisa.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. We're going to go now and say a very good morning here to the Minister of Education, the Honourable Member for Burin Placentia West, Clyde Jackman. Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir.
All right. I'm here now believing that what you're about to do on this program in front of 80,000 people is announce a new school for Charottetown, Labrador. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
No, Randy, I'm not about to do that. All I'm saying to you is we seem to have found ourselves in a situation now where, he said, she said, they said, and that's where we want to be removed from. The school in Charottetown is a very serious situation, and I will say to the people of Charottetown that this is a priority for me. It truly is, because there's nothing more important than the safety and the health and the well-being of our students. Now, I received an email from a community member that said, that I was bullying the people, or they were saying that, that the community was bullying me into trying to get me to say that they were going to get a new school. I've been for the last month and a half and 2 months talking about bullying, so that's the furthest from my mind in any way. All I was saying is that, I can't be pressured into saying that we're going to build a new school there, because what we've got to do is we've got to work our way through a process. Safety has got to be first and foremost. I've got to have cooperation, and the board has to have cooperation of the community, because this is not going to be a short-term fix. The one thing that I can assure the parents and students of Charottetown, Labrador, is that at the end of the day, the facility that they go back into will be a safe one. And, the other details around the things that the parents want in a school, well, we'll have to work our way through that, and they will work with the board, and we'll see what we arrive at. First and foremost, however, has to be getting these students back into a learning environment. It's coincidental, I suppose. I'm going through the same thing in my district. There's a junior high school in my district that is closed up for mold. They've been out now for several months, and I don't know if they'll be back before the end of the year. We hope that they will, but there's a process that we have to work our way through.
Well, it seems to me that the decision on that is done. Again, I'm heavy into let's not fool around. I'm into get stuff done.
Yes.
They got nothing else. They got to take the rec center. They got 60 kids. They got to set it up as a school. They got to do it till June.
Yeah.
That's the temporary solution.
Yes.
The midterm solution. Yeah. What are they going to do till a new school is built? And I'm assuming on that there's one of two things. They're either going to be able to repair that building and make it livable,
yes,
or you're going to have to come up with a temporary building of some type. And I got a feeling repairing the building and making it livable is not acceptable to the population in the community. And then, of course, the long-term solution is you've got to announce a school, Minister.
Well, the long-term solution is what we'll work our way towards with the school board. But those steps, as you just indicated, have to be there. Now, portables, we haven't ruled that out yet. But we've got to have somebody who has expertise that can go in there and tell us, okay, if they go and they say, all right, the building that's presently there, it cannot be restored or whatnot, then we've got to take the next step. But we don't know what the next step is.
Well, so here's the question for you very quickly. I got to go to news. I might have to keep you on if you can. But here's the question. Do you have people in there now examining that school with the objective in mind, the question being, can we save this building?
Well, I tell you now, what's happened at this particular point is they've gone in and done the air quality testing, and we want to, we have no reason to hide anything. There's mold in several places in that building, so that's not acceptable. So we got to do something. So what I've committed to is that we will have an architectural firm that will go in there, and we'll get them in there as quickly as we possibly can to do an assessment and see if, in fact, we can, restore that building. We don't know where that is at this particular point, but we are willing to do all of this and expedite it to the extent that we can. But what I'm asking of the parents in the meantime and the students is that give us our cooperation, get you back into the learning environment, and between us, the board, and the community, we will work our way toward an end result. What that eventual end result, I don't know, but one thing that we can assure the community is that we will keep them engaged and involved in that process.
But they're going to keep. But they're going to keep the pressure on, and understandably so. They say they've been 14 years.
Well, I've come across this in the most recent days. And the last couple of weeks. So, my involvement on that particular file is to that extent. Now, we will be conversing with the school board, and we will see that. I will tell you, as I've already said, this is a priority for me now. Therefore, we've got to converse with the Western School District and see where we're going to. But the point is that I cannot be pressured into saying that, we're going to do it, we're going to give you a new school right now. There is a process that will have to be worked its way through. I know even if we were to announce a new school tomorrow, it could be 2 years before they get into that particular building. So we have to work our way through a process. I'm asking for the community's cooperation now, and we will engage and involve the parents and the student body, and we will work our way towards that end result, which will be a safe result when these students return to it.
Well, on that note, Minister, I'm just going to let you go for now because there's not much else to say about it other than, to me, I agree with you, the 3 steps. You know, a temporary solution, and priority 1, get the kids back in a learning environment.
Definitely.
They're going to have to use the rec center whether they like it or not. Government may have to spend a little money and help them out with it, but that's going to happen. I'm not, the midterm solution with the temporary classrooms, well, what else is there? And of course, a long-term solution is you either renovate that school and make it modern, or you gotta burn the damn thing down. And we're headed down. By the way, they're saying it's on polluted land.
Well, it seems that the crawl space beneath, that's one of the areas of concern. So again, you know, we're doing that. All that assessment's being done, and we are not going to compromise the health of these students. You know, it's as simple as that. And I would not put my own child in a situation where I felt that there were some health issues, nor will I even contemplate having these students go into that type of situation. It's just simply not going to happen. But we have to let the process take its course.
Minister, it is always a pleasure. Thanks for this.
Thank you, Randy.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That is the Honorable Clyde Jackman, Minister of Education. Comforting words or not comforting words? We're back after news. Stay with us.